Hi guys, it's Aaron and welcome to the course Developing and Feeling Subtle Energy, which is also known as Qi, Prana, Ki, Akasha and Ether. So we're going to be dividing this into four parts. The first part is the physical movements, which is to develop the subtle energy. Part 2 is the breathing, how to breathe while doing these movements. Part 3 is the visualization, which is using the mind to direct the energy. And part 4 is sensing and feeling, which is the combination of parts 1, 2, and 3 with focused attention. So move on to the physical movements, part 1. So the first part of part 1 is we're going to work the physical movements. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rub our hands together for approximately 60 seconds. So just grab your hands like this and just start to rub them together just lightly, creating the friction and creating heat. So this is our first part, and we won't rub it for the whole 60 seconds for here because we're just learning the movements. So once we've done this and we're starting to feel the heat, the second part of the physical movements is to open the hands apart and just start to notice the heat, the sensations, and start pulling it apart and just notice if you can feel that heat and where you can feel that heat. So next, we want to start to pull the fingers apart and start to push the fingers forward as if you're lengthening your fingers. So I'm just going to stand up here so you can see a lot easier. So I'm going to have my hand just relaxed with its slight curve, and then I push my fingers, spread them open, and at the same time I'm pushing them out this way. Showing it from a different angle. Now we want to do these physical movements of this stretching and relaxing, minimizing the amount of movement we have. So eventually we want to get to the point where there's just this very small movement, pushing out and stretching the fingers, and then relaxing, pushing apart, relaxing, pushing apart, relaxing. And then we want to excuse me, we want to do very small movements, and holding that hand, we want to create a slight curve. And you want to find that there's a certain position where you have not hands straight or completely open, but just relaxed slightly, and then start doing those movements again. And when you've found that spot, we're going to do that about 18 times. So just have that hand in that curved position till you find that position that promotes the most intense feelings in your hand, and we do that 18 times. You can do that with a single hand, and you can also do that with both hands at the same time. So next we'll go on to the breathing while you're doing this. In part 2 we're going to be focusing on the breathing. So the first part you'll need to realize with the breathing or know is we inhale through the nose and we exhale through the mouth or the nose. So as you're breathing in, the first few breaths you may find that you'll just exhale through the mouth, just think of the mouth as an exhaust pipe. And then after a while, as the breathing becomes smooth, you'll be able to inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. We also want to keep your body in a very relaxed and calm position and just stay just very chilled, so in a chair or something like that, or just standing but in a calm environment. And now we want to start to add the breathing to the movements. So step 1 is as we inhale, we gently expand and open and stretch the fingers. So from this position here, as I inhale, and you'll notice that as I'm inhaling, I'm imagining that the breath is helping me open and spread those fingers. Although I'm not using any physical force, just a minute amount of just stretching. And then when you exhale, imagine that the breath is receding out of the fingers, but it's leaving behind the sensations as you relax. And the hand doesn't have to move, so it's eventually your hand is almost in the one position, and I breathe in. And all my attention is focusing on the sensations and feelings that are in my hand as I naturally breathe, thinking that the hand is filled up as I breathe. It goes in my lungs, down my arm, and spreads out of my fingers. And I want to, once again, when you're learning this, you can move the fingers a little bit, and you might just sort of go. But over time, I want you to really just relax, have this relaxed hands, and go. And start to notice what's happening within your hands. Hi guys, welcome to part 3. Now we did touch on some of the visualization, imagination in part 2 of the breathing. Now we're just going to touch on our visualizations a little bit more. So when you're inhaling, we want to imagine that the breath is traveling down your arm into your hand. You're imagining that the inhaling breath is helping you spread and extend the fingers. You're not using any external physical force. And when you're exhaling, you're just imagining that the breath is receding and just relaxing the hand, and it's leaving behind these sensations as the hand just finds that nice curved position. And the last part was to focus all of your attention on the sensations and feelings that are in your hand, and just naturally breathe. So we'll focus just on one hand at the moment, breathing in. Imagining as I'm breathing in that I'm spreading the hands, pushing them out of the sockets, spreading them slightly, but minimizing that movement, just hardly even moving. You can almost imagine that your hand is in a glove, in a steel glove, and on the outside you cannot see any movement as you move your fingers in the steel glove, but there's just this minute movement, and that's like your bones moving within your hand. And over time, we can start to think about, I'm moving the hands out, I'm moving the fingers out, closing them in a grip, but all the time not actually moving them. Good. So that's some of the visualization. Now we finish off with part 4 of putting it all together, of really sensing and feeling, and putting parts 1, 2, and 3, and 4 all together. So we're on to part 4, and this is putting parts 1, 2, and 3 all together and adding the element of really sensing and feeling this subtle energy that we've started to create. So we'll go through the whole thing now, and I'll just get you to feel it as well. And I want you to try and put as much as you can together. So the more you practice, you'll start to understand it. You'll know the breathing pattern, the feeling, and you'll be able to visualize. So at the moment, just do your best. So with our sensing and feeling, we're just going to focus on one hand. And, two hands. We'll start by rubbing them together, just in a comfortable position. Breathing, feeling the heat in my hands. And now I'm going to be just opening them and start to feel that heat sensation, moving them apart, noticing what I feel, coming closer again. And now we want to have those fingers in that position that you found before, where they're not relaxed and just completely floppy. There's tension in them a little bit, but they're very relaxed. And now we're going to breathe in, extend them. Exhale, let them withdraw. Minimal movement. Repeat. Breathing in through the nose, naturally. Really focusing on those sensations in the hands as you breathe in. Pushing the fingers apart mentally. Retracting them. And as you exhale, feeling the relaxation, yet there's no movement. And feeling the sensations that breath leaves behind. Again, breathe. Now, putting it all together, we can start to, as we're breathing and moving the hands slightly, we can just start to alter the distance of our hands. And imagine as we're breathing, not only are we pushing the fingers out, but there's this subtle energy that's expanding like a glove around our hand. And we can start to encompass it between our hands, making it bigger. Then it gets smaller and compacts. And do this a good 18 times, 20 times. And noticing those feelings in your hands. And trying to really relax the hands, but mentally pushing them open. Noticing, feeling that subtle energy. Good. So we'll just do a final wrap-up video just to complete the course. Hi guys, welcome back to the last part of the course. So in this part of the course, I'm just going to give you some tips. So as you know, or as you may have noticed, that I really breathe in and I allow myself to relax. I allow my eyelids to become heavy and really focus and go into an internal trance within myself. Being a hypnotherapist and dealing with clients, going inside and really sensing this is what we need to do to start building and expanding these energies. So over time, when you've got the movement pattern down and you just know this slight expansion, contraction, and you're starting to breathe, feeling what's going on between your hands, then you can just start playing around with this. So you've got these tinglings, maybe sensations of heat. I'm not sure, whatever you feel, what you describe. But now just start to get one finger and start to tap in certain areas. And notice that you'll feel this sensation. I feel it more stronger here. I'll build this one more. And close your eyes. Start to feel the changes. It's really quite subtle and quite interesting that if you really pay attention, you'll start to feel that you're affecting the energy field of your hand and you're connecting them. And then you can start to make your own movements. Breathing, expanding, putting a retention into these hands and building that energy up. So I hope you've enjoyed this mini course on developing subtle energy and sensing and feeling them, and continue on the practice. It's not just one session that you'll get it often you'll take a few different times, and maybe even break the course up into a few different days. Of day one, just starting to focus on the movements, and then adding the visualization, the breathing, and putting it all together. And you may even find that while you're doing it, you'll start adding the elements automatically, and then it'll just start to click, and you'll start to feel this magnetic. That's what I describe it as a magnetic, electrical feel of like the air's thick around my hands. The fingers often become a little bit blotched in your hand. They become full of blood, and yeah, it just feels really, really good. So I hope you enjoy this. Keep practicing, and we'll talk again soon.